Kate Wilkinson, who's the researcher at Africa Check. Hello to you, Kate. First of all, before we talk about the number of people in prison, why are we talking about the number of people in prison in South Africa? Worrying numbers, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Recently, we've heard concerns about the conditions in prisons as well as the state of overcrowding. So at Africa Check, we've provided a fact sheet which breaks down all the relevant numbers on prisons and inmates in South Africa, as well as the challenges that they face.
All right, let's then talk about the numbers as well. I have some of them in front of me. It's the average inmate population, which is very worrying. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people just about.
Absolutely. So South Africa has 243 prisons across the country, and currently the last data that we have shows that there are 161,000 prisoners. Not all of these have been sentenced though. Around 117,000 of these people have been sentenced for their crimes, but worryingly South Africa has a very high number of prisoners who are in prison and are just awaiting trial, and a number of those people are in prison because they just can't afford bail.
The number that worries me, Kate, I just saw this now, is the number of children under 18 that are currently in prison. Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So if we look at a demographic breakdown of the prison population, we know that the vast majority of prisoners are male at around 97%. But worryingly, there are a fair number of prisoners who are actually children under the age of 18. At last count, this figure was 148, according to government.
And that, I imagine, comes with quite a hefty price tag as well, to have prisoners in our state institutions. What sort of bill is in store for the taxpayer?
So this information can be hard to come by, but last year government actually revealed that it costs 133,805 Rand and 35 cents per prisoner per year to house a prisoner in South African correctional facilities. And when you look at the total bill for around 161,000 prisoners, you'll see that it comes at a pretty high 21.5 billion Rand per year.
Excuse me, Kate. Let's take our viewers back to a parliamentary question in June 2017, where there was a question about foreign nationals behind bars in South Africa. I imagine you have the numbers around that as well.
Yeah, so there is often concern, especially from the public, about the number of foreign nationals in South Africa who commit crimes and how many foreign nationals end up in jail. The latest figures we have show that there were around 11,800 foreign nationals in jail, and of these around 1,300 were in jail because they had been found to be in South Africa illegally. When it comes to where these people come from, the vast majority of foreign nationals in South African prisons are Zimbabweans at around 41.5%, and this is followed by prisoners from Mozambique at 24%.
It's difficult, Kate, to talk about these sort of numbers and those in South African prisons without discussing the issue of overcrowding as well. It's something that's been in the media for years, and government desperately trying to tackle it.
Absolutely. There have been a lot of concerns raised about the overcrowding in South African prisons. In March 2017, we know that there were around 119,000 beds available in South Africa's prisons, but those beds had to cater for 160,000 prisoners, which really means that there were 40,000 prisoners who did not have a bed of their own to sleep in at night. There have been a few studies and analyses done of the state of overcrowding in South African prisons, and in 2015-16 it revealed some startling high levels in a number of correctional facilities. For example, in the remand centre in Pollsmoor Prison, there were overcrowding levels of around 250%, and what this means is that around 2,400 people did not have a bed to sleep in that prison. If we come to Joburg, we saw overcrowding levels of around 230%, and that meant a bed shortfall of around 1,700.
Kate, and finally, it's very important that those who are serving time are looked after medically as well. Just give us a sense of the medical treatment for for inmates in these prisons.
So yeah, there are a number of key focus areas when it comes to treatment and the measurement of how this is achieved. Particularly, we're looking at diseases like TB, and the latest results that we have show that government has managed to cure around 83% of prisoners who they have put onto TB treatment. And when it comes to treating prisoners who have HIV, we see that around 98% of prisoners who have tested positive are on antiretroviral treatment.
Kate Wilkinson, always a pleasure talking to you. Very worrying numbers indeed, but glad to hear that Africa Check are bringing us the numbers as they truly are every week here on eNCA. Kate Wilkinson from Africa Check joining us. If you've missed that, by the way, no doubts our online team are going to get that interview and plenty more that you may have missed here on eNCA up on the website. If you haven't been to it yet, do yourself a favor, go take a look. It is eNCA.com. You can catch it on your desktop or your tablet, and don't forget as well, you can also catch up on the eNCA app as well, available on iOS and also on Android devices. It's available now.